Have you ever noticed something strange? The moment you decide to change your life, everything seems to get harder. You decide to get fit, you get injured, you decide to leave a relationship that's making you unhappy, the fear gets louder. You decide to start a business, money suddenly becomes terrifying. You finally decide to make changes, and life feels like it's pushing back. So what's actually happening? Bad luck? A sign you're doing the wrong thing? Or is there something else going on? Because if you've ever tried changing your life, you've probably felt this. That strange moment where the thing you wanted starts making you feel worse. And that's usually when people quit. Not because they're lazy, not because they're weak, but because they assume something has gone wrong. They think, maybe this isn't for me. Maybe I made a mistake. Maybe I should just go back to how things were. And honestly, I've thought exactly the same thing. There was a point in my life when almost everything I'd built seemed to disappear. Relationships ended, plans changed, work changed, and eventually, I found myself living in a barn. And here's what surprised me. The hardest part wasn't losing things. It wasn't the money. It wasn't the uncertainty. It was something else. Didn't know who I was anymore. And that's a very different problem. Because when life changes, you don't just lose certainty, sometimes you lose identity. And I think this catches a lot of people out. They think they're trying to change their circumstances, but what they're really changing is who they believe they are. Think about it. If you've spent 20 years being a husband, who are you after divorce? If you've spent 30 years doing one job, who are you when that job disappears? That's why change feels so uncomfortable. Because your future isn't the only thing becoming uncertain, your identity is too. Now here's where things get really interesting. Most people think they're scared of failure. I don't think they are. I think most people are scared of uncertainty because uncertainty feels dangerous. Human beings have a strange habit. We often choose familiar pain over unfamiliar possibility. That again, familiar pain over unfamiliar possibility. That's a big one. And that's why people stay stuck. Not because they're weak, not because they're incapable, but because the known feels safer than the unknown. From when the known is making them miserable. So when you finally decide to change, your brain doesn't celebrate. It sounds the alarm. It thinks it's helping. It thinks it's protecting you. But most of the time, it's protecting familiarity. And that's why fear gets louder. Not because you're failing, because you're leaving the known behind. And here's a mistake I made more than once. I mistook fear for a warning sign, when sometimes it was simply a sign I was growing. That doesn't mean every decision is right. It doesn't mean every risk works out. But fear on its own isn't proof you're heading in the wrong direction. So if things feel uncertain right now, if your confidence is taking a knock, if you're questioning whether you've done the right thing, that doesn't automatically mean you're going backwards. It might simply mean you're somewhere new. But there's still a question we haven't answered, and it's the biggest one of all. If change creates fear, if life gets harder before it gets better, if uncertainty is part of the process, then how do some people keep going when everything inside them wants to quit? That's exactly what we're going to answer next. Because resilience isn't what most people think it is. I've got a question for you. What's one change you've wanted to make in your life, but fear keeps talking you out of? Drop it in the comments. Your answer might help somebody else realize they're not the only one. So let's answer the question we left hanging. If change creates fear, if life gets harder before it gets easier, how do some people keep going when everything inside them wants to quit? The answer isn't motivation, and that's good news, because motivation disappears. It comes and goes like the weather. Nobody feels motivated every day. Not successful people, not resilient people, not me. Resilient people don't keep going because they feel better. They keep going because they've made a decision. And that's where I discovered something that changed my life. A promise. When I was living in that barn, I didn't rebuild my life in one dramatic moment. I rebuilt it through small promises. Not massive goals, not life-changing breakthroughs, just small promises. promises I could actually keep. Get up, make the bed, go for a walk, apply for the job, make the call, do the next thing. And here's what most people miss. Confidence doesn't come first. Evidence comes first. Every promise you keep becomes evidence, evidence that you can trust yourself. And trust in yourself is where resilience starts. Most people think life is exhausting. Sometimes it is, but often it's the thinking that's exhausting. We replay conversations, we predict disasters, we argue with people in our heads, we create problems that haven't happened yet. I've done all of it, and maybe you have too. But eventually, I realized something. Not every thought deserves a seat at the table. Some thoughts are useful, most aren't, and resilience is learning the difference. Because you don't have to believe everything your mind tells you, especially when you're struggling. Fear lies, comparison lies, shame lies, and hopelessness lies most of all. And while we're here, let's talk about comparison. Comparison nearly robbed me of years, because no matter what I achieved, someone always seemed further ahead. And here's the truth, you're not behind, you're just looking sideways. Different people, different timing, different circumstances, different journeys. The moment you stop measuring your life against everybody else's, you get your freedom back. When I look back now, I can see something I couldn't see at the time. Every setback taught me something. Every failure revealed something. Every rock bottom stripped something away. And eventually, what's left is you. Not the job, not the relationship, not the title, not the house, you. And that's the real lesson resilience teaches. Life doesn't get easier, you become stronger, you become calmer, more honest, more capable, and far less frightened of starting again. So if you're struggling right now, if life feels uncertain, if you're standing in the middle of a chapter you didn't ask for, don't judge the story by the page you're on. Maybe one day, you'll look back at the thing that's hurting you now and realize it wasn't the end, it was the beginning. Keep the next promise, then the next one, then the one after that. That's how lives change. Now for your question, what's the hardest thing you've ever had to rebuild after losing it? A relationship, your confidence, your health, yourself? Leave your answer in the comments. You never know who might need to read it.